are a number of component parts to the importance of parenting that have a significant impact on the development of the child. And this starts, we could argue, we don't have to argue it. Obviously starts before birth in preparation for parenting, but then the real parenting in terms of interaction starts after birth. And so inconsistencies in the approach that a parent uses, and I'm not a parenting expert, but inconsistencies for anything that occur that engage the brain are not good things, right? That is, routines and rituals, repeating the same thing over and over again, if it's positive, is really a healthy way to sort of think about brain development. Intermittent changes are okay. It's not that everything has to be the same all the time, but if things become unpredictable, unpredictability is a real challenge for the brain to deal with. And there's tremendous amount of what we call a heterogeneity or individual differences. Some individuals can deal with inconsistencies and unpredictability okay. They can kind of control themselves. But think about, the first time you walk into a room of people who you don't know. Your heart races a little bit. You get a little sweaty. Who am I going to interact with? I don't really know anybody here. For some people, that is actually really distressful. So I use that as sort of an illustration where unpredictability can be a problem, particularly in terms of what a child is when they're trying to gain expertise. Think about, again, going to the gym. You repeat things certain numbers of times, and what's that doing is it's actually using certain nerve connections, synapses, and the more you use it, there's this term that neurobiologists use that says use it or lose it. And so, neurons that fire together wire together. So these experiences are creating brain activity, activity of the neurons. And when they're in synchrony with each other, that actually strengthens those connections. Now, the thing about experiences is that they're very powerful, and we've talked about that. They can turn genes on and off. They can have a direct influence on brain. They do have a direct influence on brain activity. But here's the deal, right? And so if you think about it, it's kind of a genius design, because what better way of sort of building the individual to be prepared for what's going to happen in life for that individual than to use experiences to build the best possible way of dealing with those challenges or those positive things that may come along. So experience is powerful. It's powerful early, but the brain doesn't filter and say, oh, those are negative experiences. The neglect, the absence of serve and return, abuse, witnessing violence, unpredictable stress that may occur in their own life growing up as an infant and a toddler. Those are powerful experiences, and the brain uses those. Certain connections are firing together, and those are getting strengthened. And what that does is build a brain that, for example, in terms of individuals who experience abuse, that actually impacts, for example, how they perceive emotions in faces. They actually overrepresent anger. Why? Because it's a safety component, right? It makes sense. What about an infant or toddler who doesn't experience serve and return, the absence of interaction? Well, you can probably guess they don't become very good face experts at all in terms of being able to detect differences in emotions. They recognize faces, but they tend to be indiscriminate in their approach to strangers and other things. So those experiences have an impact on how the brain gets wired up.